Give me liberty and give me Annette.
Hi, welcome to Annette on Life, Liberty, and Happiness, where I talk about the Constitution, politics, history, the culture, and pretty much anything else I want to talk about. And you can find this podcast on AnnetteTalks.com, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc., etc. You can see this video and all my other videos and podcasts on YouTube as well. So I would ask that you would go to YouTube and subscribe so that you can get every episode as it comes out. And also, I would love to start having conversations on there. So it would be great if you could go there and comment. Or you can go to facebook.com/Annette Talks. Anyway, as I said in my opening, I talk about all those things plus anything else I want to talk about. Well, right now, with what's going on with the coronavirus and everyone staying home, I need to talk about that because it's pretty much what everyone's thinking about. And just before I started recording, I got the dreaded email that I knew was coming from my girls' school district saying that, yes, we're going to be homeschooling for the rest of the school year. I don't know why it even took them that long to decide it, but it's now official. I'm going to have them home for 7 more weeks. So first I want to say, I feel your pain. I know exactly what you're going through. First we had restaurants close. And then I remember one day I took the girls to their dentist appointment. This was just, I guess only 2 weeks ago now. It feels like it's been a lifetime since things have been normal, but I took my girls to the dentist's office. Then I said, let's go to the library because they might close it because restaurants are already closing. And so we went to the library and we literally got there 5 minutes before it closed for who knows how long. And then we went over to Target and already they had closed their little Target cafe. And can I tell you, one of the hardest things for me has been that I cannot do what I've done every Friday for years, which is go to Target, get my popcorn and my Diet Coke and walk around and do my shopping. And I take like an hour to an hour and a half shopping and eating my popcorn and drinking my drink. And I can't do popcorn and soda anymore. I know that might sound silly, but it's those little things in life that we count on that make a huge difference. And so I miss that. Like I went to Target today and it's just not the same, like not only can I not get my snacks, but everyone's social distancing. There's little blue X's to tell you where to stand in line. They're out of things that they shouldn't be out of because people are being ridiculous and buying way more than they need to, like rice. And, I can understand that, but they should have, there should be more by now. Anyway, and then of course the school is closed. So I'm now homeschooling 3 girls at home, trying to figure out how to get them all onto their electronics. And they all have to have cameras and microphones because they have Zoom meetings with their teachers almost every day. And so just scrambling to get that up. And so now this full-time homeschool teaching job on top of my already part-time job that I had teaching college online. And we have to stay at home. We're not supposed to go anywhere. So a lot of us are trapped at home, either inundated with work, or on the other hand, there's many people who have just lost their job and they're at home with not much going on. So yeah, this is a whole new bizarre world we live in. And that doesn't even begin to talk about the anxiety of what if I get sick? What if a loved one gets sick? What if I die? What if somebody else dies? Personally, I don't have that. I think that I actually had this COVID-19 about 6 weeks ago. And I think my oldest did as well. And that would mean that we're now immune. Plus, I'm 51, so I'm not really up there yet in the age that's at risk. And my kids are all young and they're not at risk. So I don't really worry about that aspect of it. But I know many people do have that concern. And then there's the economy is going to tank. It's going to take a downturn if nothing else because of all these unemployed people all of a sudden. Then add in the fact that we see our freedoms being taken away. And I have a whole other episode on that about the constitutionality of these stay-at-home orders. So, and then we don't have church. We can't go to church on Sunday. We can't go to the temple. Our ordinary routine has been put on hold, and we don't know what things are going to look like when this is over. Will our favorite restaurants even be open anymore? Oh, we can't go to a movie. I can't get the good popcorn. Anyway, we don't know what everything's going to look like. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know when the stay at home orders are going to lift because they said April 30th, but that doesn't mean they won't extend it. If they just extended school to the end of the school year, I don't know what that means for everything else. But anyway, we now live in a time of uncertainty, anxiety, fear, etc., etc. So I wanted to acknowledge that first of all, because I know a lot of us are having a difficult time dealing with anxiety and depression and things like that. Last weekend, I had my first meltdown and just cried for, I don't know, a good hour. I just reached my limit. And so I know I'm not the only one going through this. But an interesting thing happened when I took my girls out for a bike ride the other day, and I was walking and they were riding their bikes, and we came to this part of the sidewalk that was being worked on, so it was all covered up, and you couldn't go on the sidewalk. And I first thought was, oh, something else that's closed. I got really irritated. But my girls were like, "Yay, we get to go off road!" And so they went around on, on the grass, on the dirt, and they thought that was great. They're like, "Let's do it again!" So they kept going off road, like it was so exciting to go around this little closed part of a sidewalk. And it made me think, wow, what great attitudes that these girls have instead of being irritated that their life again is not what they expected, but that it was exciting to do that. It was exciting to go off road. So that made me think about how we are now currently off road from our normal lives. And it can be bumpy and scary, and we don't know where it's leading us. So we've got to figure out a way to find joy even when we are off road. And so I wanted to read this quote here from Viktor Frankl. If you don't know who he is, you should look him up. But he was in a one of those internment camps during World War II, and he found ways to be happy even during that time as a prisoner of war. And he says, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And I think that's awesome because right now there's really not a lot we can do about this. We can't change the stay-at-home orders. Many of us cannot stop homeschooling, and those that are unemployed may not be able to find another job before this thing is over. So there are a lot of things that are not going to change. We can't force things to open. We can't force our lives to go back the way we want them to be. But we can change ourselves, and we can change our attitude. And so I have some ideas that I've been thinking about for everyone, those of you that are stuck at home right now. There are still some people working, and there are still some states that are not on stay at home, but much of the country is on stay at home. So I wanted to give you some ideas of things that you can do to continue to find joy even when you're off road like we are right now. So the first thing I wanted to bring up is long walks in nature. I've been doing that for quite some time now, and a few years ago I took off the headphones so I wouldn't have to listen to music or talk radio and just walk and listen to nature. And I actually make that like an open prayer. When I start walking, I'll open up a prayer and then just keep walking and let my thoughts flow in prayer. And but definitely getting outside and walking in nature is huge. It's good for you physically and it's good for you mentally and emotionally. Every time I leave, there are so many times when I've set off on my walk anxious or upset or worried. And by the time the walk is done, I'm good. I'm centered. I've found some solutions. I've received some inspiration. I've benefited just from being outside. But I was also told that the left-right movement from your legs walking and your arms swinging is actually good for balancing your brain out. I had no idea. But it explains why it's always helpful. Take a picnic outside with your family that you're living with. Of course, if you see anybody else, you've got to stay social distance. Go on bike rides with your family, garden. If you have a trampoline outside, go on the trampoline. But getting outside is huge. You need to do it at least once a day. I try and get out at least a few times a day, even if it's just for a walk down to the mailbox. All right, but there are other things you can be doing this during this time that can leave you better off than when this started, because this is an opportunity to see things in your life that you could improve on and do that. There are so many things we can do these days from home because of the internet. And also, a lot of us have these books that we haven't looked at. I have books that I'm going to start pulling down from my little shelf and reading and podcasting about because I just haven't had time to get to them. I mean, I don't have a lot of time right now with the homeschooling, but in the time that I'm home, I can read these books. So I would say start developing some talents or skills that you've been wanting to develop. Is there an online class you've been wanting to take? Have you been wanting to learn a new language? If I had more time, if I wasn't homeschooling, I think I would probably start my Spanish classes that I've wanted to do, like at Rosetta Stone or something, and learn Spanish. There's painting, drawing, sewing, knitting, practicing the piano, learning the piano. They have apps for learning the piano or another instrument like guitar, writing music, if that's what you do, writing songs, podcasting like I do. I've had lots of ideas for podcasts that have come to me since this whole thing started. It's a good time to open up that creativity flow that you can get a lot of times when you don't have anything else going on. Write your life story if you haven't done that. Write articles, start a blog. Start a blog and talk about all the things that you're dealing with during this time. I've been having a lot of fun on Facebook talking about what it's like to homeschool. Lots of jokes. Oh my gosh, there are so many great jokes on Facebook right now. Lots of great memes. So, when you hear something or if you have an idea for something, write it down. Whether that's a joke, just a joke you're posting, or a whole blog post, but start journaling this stuff. These times are crazy, and they're also going to be really interesting to our kids and grandkids. Do crafts if you like crafting, scrapbooks, photo albums. This is your time to do those things that you've been saying you wanted to do for a long time and not gotten around to doing it. And doing these things and keeping busy with these things is much, much better than sitting around being anxious and watching the news. I say keep the news to a minimum. Just find out those things that you need to know to get through your daily life, because too much of that is very anxiety producing. Don't forget that the news, the mainstream media, they make money by delivering scary stories because they know that or news, because they know that you'll watch that. Okay, you're not going to tune in to watch all the happy, fun stories. So they're going to take things that are negative and keep hitting you with them again and again. You need to really minimize that. So spend very little time on the news. And then leisure time, catch up on your reading. Read a favorite book, listen to music. I listen to 80s music, I listen to classical hymns. Dance in the kitchen. Get your spouse or your kids or even yourself, if you're all alone, dance in the kitchen to your favorite music. Do puzzles and board games with your family or on your own. Oh, board games you can't do by yourself. Puzzles you can. I say get yourself some really big multi-piece puzzles, like hundreds of pieces puzzles, and work on those. Very relaxing. Exercise. Find some exercises you can do in the house, whether that means videos or if you've got some equipment, but exercise every day. Declutter your house. Look around and find things you can do. I've been having my girls go through their closets and pull out clothes that are too small so we can get ready to give them to Goodwill. Go through your closets and get rid of the stuff. Do that whole, I don't know what you call it, but where you get rid of stuff that doesn't speak to you anymore. Bake, cook, find new recipes that you've been wanting to try. Or if you can't find everything, try and make something that just takes a few ingredients that you can find. Get creative. There's a ton of service opportunities. Help your homeschool kids, which a lot of us are doing several hours of service a day by homeschooling. But if you're not homeschooling, maybe you can help somebody that is. If you can't be there in person, you can provide like a Zoom support to the kids. Maybe you can Zoom meeting with kids and tutor them if they need help. Shop for the elderly. If some of these elderly people don't know how to order online and deliver, maybe you can teach them how to do that so they can do that themselves. Or if they can't, you could always shop for them, have them leave the money on the doorstep, you leave the food on the doorstep, whatever it takes. There are people out there that need service. Look around, start looking around and figuring out what can you do. Even if that means you need to post on Facebook and say, hey, I'm willing to help. I had a gentleman that I've never met before who posted on a Facebook chat group that he was willing to work on vehicles for people because he needed service, and I let him come over. I let him. He came over and worked on my car for me. It was great, and we had to chat for 90 minutes at a social distance, of course. But service will help you take you outside of yourself, and again, get rid of some of that anxiety and worry because you're not going to be anxious and worried when you're helping someone else. You're going to feel good about yourself and providing a service for someone. Help the sick with chores. Get to appointments if they need to. Write letters to missionaries or other friends, like actual letters, like snail mail, birthday cards. Post on Facebook that you're willing to help people and see if people will respond to you. Just look around. Go to justserve.org and see what's there. I'm guessing there are still a lot of masks that need to be made for those of you that have sewing machines. But look around. Pray about it. Find what you can do, how you can contribute. All right. And then the last thing that I wanted to go over, which is the most important thing, is spiritual. You need to stay connected right now. In my church, we have prophets and apostles, and this weekend, which I will be posting this probably over the weekend, is General Conference, and we get to hear from our prophets and apostles. I'm so grateful for that. But you need to pray. You need to pray so you can get guidance to know how to handle this difficult time. Meditate. I consider my long walks meditation. It's me in nature, not listening to anything and not talking to anyone except saying hi to people that walk by. But I recommend at least 45 minutes of meditation a day. It seems painful at first, but after you get used to it, it's wonderful. Feast on the scriptures. Get into those scriptures every day, whether that's through electronics or actual books. If you're a member of my church, make sure you're doing sacrament at home. We used to be able to have people over to have sacrament meetings, but not anymore. Now we have to do it alone, at least in some areas. I actually felt inspired to do a gospel doctrine class on Facebook Live, and I've been doing that every Sunday. So if you are a member, or even if you're not, and you're interested to see what that looks like, every Sunday morning, except for during General Conference, I'm doing a Facebook Live at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and I'm doing the Come Follow Me Gospel Doctrine class. And that way people can come and watch and type in the chat responses to my questions. Ask Heavenly Father what you should be doing. Listen to the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. I guess they have a different name now, but I can never remember it. Hold regular Come Follow Me with your family if you're a member. If you're not, hold regular scripture study with your family. Get out that Bible and read together. Sing songs together. Sing hymns together. Play the piano. Stand around the piano like in the old days and sing together. You really need to stay spiritually connected even more than ever during this time. Not only will it give you the inspiration that you need, it will also calm you and soothe you and help you to know that everything is okay. So I would challenge you during these times to be looking around. Number one, how can you help others? And number two, how can you improve yourself? And get creative and do those things that forever you've been saying you want to do, or the repairs that you haven't made around the house that need to be made, especially you men. Those things you've been telling your wives you were going to do, and you've been putting them off for like years, go do it. Go do those things now. And it'll also help you get along better with her if you're quarantined together. You really need to get together as a family right now and figure out the best way to support each other during this time. You know, have fun with each other, dance with each other, make this a fun, happy memory. And so I encourage you to stay positive, to stay focused on improving your life and the lives around you, and to stay close to your Father in heaven. So I'm glad I was able to talk about this today. It's been therapeutic for me and to remind myself. And I hope that you will go to comment on YouTube/Annette Talks or Facebook/Annette Talks or AnnetteTalks.com. Please like, share, subscribe. If you really like my podcast, go to patreon.com/Annette Talks and throw $5 a month my way to help me defray some of the costs. I don't make anything for doing this, and so any little bit of help is much appreciated. So thank you for listening to Annette on Life, Liberty, and Happiness.